Okay, hello everyone. Let me take a minute here and put this link out, share this out to all the Redondo Beach pages here online so that people who have forgotten will get a little reminder. And as soon as I do that, we're going to get going. We've got about 30 or 40 people signed up here, so yes, Mark, I can provide announcement for harbor amenities. Absolutely, thank you. What is May 31st, you say?
Yep, May 31st is our big community meeting for the whole public from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. It'll be online and they can register through that link right there.
Okay, perfect. And is this, are they going to present another plan, or what are they?
Yes, absolutely. They're doing what they're calling the 50% draft. They're going to give that to our committee on the 20th to review. Then our committee will discuss it on the 23rd, and then they'll present it to the public on the 31st. I actually don't know if during that short 8 days between, if they're actually going to be able to, make changes based on our committee inputs. Various of us are a little worried about that short 8-day window, but at the very least, anybody. I will have seen the plan as of the 20th, and I'll be talking with the committee on the 23rd, so any of your attendees, can certainly get a hold of me, and get an inside scoop between the 20th and the 23rd, and then we'll be soliciting their input on the 31st.
Got it. Okay. You guys are moving along there.
Yeah, there's a bunch. We were a little slow dealing with marine education, and we were a little slow dealing with the dry boat storage issue, but we're making progress on both of those. As you know, we have 4 different marine education people that are interested in moving into the Joe's Crab Shack location, and the last survey, finally, after I kind of bugged them a lot, they put a whole section on dry boat storage to get folks interest and input on that. So I'm happy that those last 2 we're making progress on here right at the very end.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Okay. Let me copy the link here for this meeting so people can join. I'll put that on.
All right. See you, Niels. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. On Zoom. All right, we got a bunch of stuff here on the agenda, and it is recorded. We got this on Facebook as well, so welcome Facebook viewers. If you have any comments, just go ahead and throw those up into the comments, or just put your hand up, and we'll go from there. So first thing on the agenda, we had a community meeting in person on Saturday, went over many of the same various items, but we do have some expanded items because we had a council meeting last night, and some really cool, good items actually on the council last night. So speaking of council and council meetings, May was our first night that we had, we're back in person. So I don't think I showed the photos. Let me see if I can get these photos together from the new council chambers. We spent roughly $1.4 million on, or 1.2 million, I believe, right in there, 1.2 million dollars regarding a new council chambers. Let me share my screen for that so you guys can see what that means. The chambers went literally down to the sand, actually. There you go, share that so we can all see that. So this is the council chambers right before or right as COVID hit, I should say. It was, I believe, one of our last council meetings that we had in person. You can see it's all roped off, and you can see the old council chambers, the old wood. And it's a very tired looking chambers, and that was the spot that I sit at there. And you can tell from the dais, really old school dais, just very tired. This is the old where we had coffee, and the old chairs that we have, and the old IP cameras. And this is the first thing that they did, was they literally just took everything out, completely stripped it, took out all of the chairs, took out the dais, and started to cut out the back. We have a big large screen there in the back, so this is what it looks, the chambers looks like naked essentially. And you can see here they did start immediately cutting into the old concrete, and they started to lay pipe. This work includes the front foyer of the council chamber area, including the bathrooms. So the bathrooms were redone as well. They were all made to be ADA compliant. And so it was literally just, as you can tell here, down to the foundation. They took things out and they rebuilt everything. And if you notice here at this photo on the left hand side, there, that is that white that you see there with the wood, the forms, that's actually styrofoam, because they raised the level of the concrete foundation probably about 8 to 12 inches, depending upon where you were at, even higher in some places. And the reason they did that was for ADA compliance, because the large slope that used to be in the council chambers was not ADA compliant modern standards. So as you can tell here, they ran a lot of new piping, ran a lot of new concrete, and spent a lot of time to redo the foundational floors and the infrastructure of the council chambers itself. This project started in August of 2020. They started the primary work in June and July of 2020, but then the real demo here, all these pictures are in the fall. And you can tell here that they took it down to the studs and rebuilt, refinished the sides. Here's the new concrete, fully new poured, so the new setting here. You can see the electrical work they're doing for the large screen in the back. It was supposed to be roughly about a 1 year long project. As you can see from the timetable here, down to 3/11/21. Took about more like 18 months actually from start to finish. And you can see here, this is in March of 2021 when they had the election. They were doing the counting of the ballots there. Let's see here. So here we have the seats all installed, and all brand new seats. Everything's ADA compliant. I believe we only lost 1 or 2 seats as compared to the old layout that we had. What is important about that? Well, the system has now been designed so that we can have council meetings started here in the council chambers, and if there's overflow, we can move all of the audio video to the second floor of the main library. And we can even have the council meetings now in the main library. So if this does not work for us anymore for whatever reason, there's another event or something is broken there, we can actually, we have overflow of people, we can actually have a council meeting in the second floor of the main library. So I'll just scroll through these photos real quick. You'll see the transformation happen very quickly. and you know, I work a lot in information technology, IT, and it does not include the word audio visual design and work. And I really want to give a shout out to the IT people in Redondo Beach, because they were tasked with doing a lot of this work, even though it's not their normal work. And what's really cool about the infrastructure we have now at the council chambers is everything is what's called IP based or network based. So the microphones, the video, audio, everything is on a network now. So everything can be piped out to both Zoom, YouTube, Spectrum, any channel we need, any output that we need, that we can now output it in a digital format, which also gives us now the ability to have a camera outside for having live events, and we can now pipe in the cameras to this a live channel. So Spectrum, YouTube, Zoom, whatever internet-based TV that you could think of, we are now able to do. So including the North Branch Library up in North Redondo, all we need to do is, you know, include since we have internet up there, a internal network, we just get the cameras and some microphones and plug away. So as you can see from these photos here, it's, you know, it's nearing completion here, very near towards the end. I put all these photos on my Facebook page as well, so if you missed any of these photos, it is a truly gorgeous modern city council chambers. And you know, this is the new chambers right here. You can see, if you remember what the old one will look like, it's just night and day difference between the two. So let me here scroll through a few extras here. Let me get to, there we go. Here's pretty much what it looks like nowadays with the TV screens. There's voting. There's all the commissioners. Remember, all the commissioners meet here in the council chambers as well. So all the little name tags there all come up electronically, digitally, no more manual name tags. Let's see here if I have a good shot of the, let's see here. That's a decent photo. That's an old one. So this is the last photo I have. So this is actually kind of a 180 photo. You can see what it has turned out to be. New walls, new video, new floors. So it's pretty cool. So there's the old shot of the old council chambers, and here's the new shot of the new council chambers. So really cool, really proud of it. The employees did a great job. Contractors did a great job. It was a tremendous amount of work for all of them. And so yeah, so I'm very let me change the view here. Very happy, very excited that we have this great council chambers. If you haven't been there yet, come on down. We meet the first 3 Tuesdays of the month, and both starting at 4:30, but open session starts at 6 o'clock. So come down at 6 o'clock and you can come view. And all commissions actually are meeting in person as well, live in person. So all right, next things up, city charter commission choices. I don't see any of the charter commissioners that I chose here. Let me see if I have the other people on here. I chose a gentleman. So we're redoing our charter, city charter, and our city charter is our essentially our constitution for the city of Redondo. And it hasn't been modified since the 80s. They tried out modifying it in the early 90s. There's a lot of things that are completely out of date in there. We don't do business the way we do business. There's a lot of things that we can update and change. It's just a vote of the people, a simple majority vote of the people. And there's some things that we should probably take a look at, have a real discussion at, whether or not we want to have certain elected officials in our city. For instance, if we want to have an elected city treasurer's office, or elected city clerk's office, or elected city attorney's office. Hermosa Beach just voted to get rid of their elected city clerk. City of Torrance just had a vote to get rid of their city treasurer's office. They did not succeed. They still have an elected city treasurers, but Hermosa did choose to get rid of their city clerk's office as an elected position. It's now an appointed position. We are one of 11 cities in the entire state of California that has an elected city attorney's position. We one of, like I said, one of 11, and it's one of the highest paid, actually, if not the highest paid. I want to say it's one of the top 3 highest paid city elected attorney positions in the entire state. Top 10 in the city of all the elected officials in the state, actually. So it's a discussion that we should have, like why we have these positions as elected positions. Culver City does something interesting. They actually appoint their police chief. So the city council, the boss, they are the boss of the city manager and the police chief. So they choose the police chief. They have direct appointment powers there for that. So every city set up differently. Some have modernized, some have expanded, some have contracted some of the responsibilities. I have chosen Rolf Strutzenberg as my choice and as my primary choice. He's on the school board, so I think he'll do a great job there. And then we also have an alternate, and I have chosen Jerry Woodham as the choice for the alternate. And Jerry Woodham sits on the Budget and Finance Commission. He was instrumental in getting the $225 million bond passed to pay off our pension debt obligation. And I know the bond people were really impressed with Jerry, and city staff really enjoy working with both Jerry and Rolf. So that's one of the reasons why I chose them. So they're going to do a great job, and it'd be exciting to see. Mayor Brand had 2 choices, and each one of the 2 choices had 2 backup choices. And let me see here real quick. Of course, it's a blue folder item that came in. Councilman Lowenstein chose as his primary choice, I think it was Mr. Eugene Solomon, who also sits in the Budget and Finance Commission. And then the backup choice, I believe, is Rob Gaddis, who sits on the Planning Commission and the GPAC, I believe. Mr. Solomon might actually sit on the GPAC as well. I'm not sure. The mayor chose a gentleman by the name of Mark Narayan. I don't know who that is, with the alternate being Roger Light. And then his other appointee is Joe DeWidziak, which is a member here of District 1, lives here in District 1, and also a former council member. And he was in the early 90s as a council member. And Joe's alternate is Wayne Craig. Let's see. Councilman Horvath chose Ron Morocco, who is on the Historical Commission, I believe. And then Matthew Hensley is his alternate. And I believe Matthew Hensley sits on the Planning Commission as well. Councilmember Obaji has chosen Bob Pinsler as his primary choice appointee, who is actually a former council member as well, back in the early 90s, actually served with Joe DeWidziak. Very active in the political community here in Redondo and in the South Bay as a whole, very well respected. He actually wrote for Easy Reader for many years as well. And his alternate is a lady by the name of Julie Young. I know she's very active up there in the parents group. I don't believe she sits on the commission. And Councilmember MD chose 2 ladies, and I forgot, and I apologize. Maybe I have their name here. I don't know their name. I didn't recognize their names when I heard them last night. Kathy Wonderly, I believe, and maybe it was Norm Matter. I don't know who the second choice was. I know the first choice was Kathy Wonderly. So if anyone knows who the second one was, let me know. She did not put it on her blue folder like me, did not put it on the blue folder. I didn't have time and didn't think about it. So congrats to all those choices. I'll be interested to see what kind of conversation they come up with, what they see we should be changing in our charter, excuse me. And they got a lot of work ahead for them. So congrats to them. Power down for good, OHMConnect. So something that the city council has unanimously agreed to. This is an item that the city attorney's office brought. Giving a quick 5-second history on the power plant location, the AES power plant. We've been trying to get rid of that power plant for years. That has been Mayor Brand's ultimate goal for the last 20+ years. We don't need the power here in the South Bay. The power that gets created, the power plant gets delivered to Orange County, other parts of LA County, southern parts of LA County. And long story short, we just don't need the power. It's a 68-year-old power plant. That's right, you heard me correct. 68 years old. Is the least efficient power plant in the entire state of California. It uses this technology called one-through cooling, which basically means you just take ocean water, you cool down the equipment, and then you let that ocean water go back out again to the ocean. So it's had that power plant was supposed to be retired a year ago. It's not retired. Long story with that. The short of the long story is the state keeps extending the term on that. We've been unanimous at the council level to stop that thing from being continued. We have been adamant that the state does not give them extensions, which they do keep giving them extensions. And one of the reasons why our city attorney brought this company called OHMConnect to us is because it's just a marketing agreement. And what OHMConnect is real simple, is they are a power company, but they are not a power company in the traditional sense of generating power. They're a power company in the sense that they are looking to reduce power consumption. So on a hot day in the wintertime, or in the wintertime when the renewable energy sources aren't at full power, if you sign up with them in their service, they have the ability to turn off certain appliances that you may have running. And what the energy that they save by having those appliances not on, you get paid for that power. And so what normally, say you take 100 watts of power at between 5 and 6 p.m., they reduce that to 80 watts of power. You'll get paid for that reduction of 20 watts, and they get credit for taking those 20 watts off of the power grid. I will share this screen here. And screen 2. I'm not sure. Share sound. Perfect. Okay. You guys can't screen 2. If you don't hear that, let me know. I'm going to play the video right now. It's a 2-minute video, and let you guys listen to that.
It's an eyesore. It's brutal. I come down here and I want to see just as much pristine beach as possible, and it's ugly.
So this power plant was designed in the early 50s, if you can believe that. It was designed as what they call a load following plant, not a peaker plant, a load following plant, but to operate all the time and just kind of cycle up and down. Well, now that it's so old, it's usually shut down, and they're treating it like a peaker plant, where they want to start it up and turn it off, start it up, turn it off. It's not designed for that. That's why you see this horrible black smoke come out.
So the black smoke day, in the eyes of many residents, it was the day that the power plant blew up and started burning up. I received dozens of phone calls, emails, texts, requests, people coming up to me and asking what's going on over there. It was as if the place had literally started catching on fire. No one knew what was going on. There was no notification. I had to call our fire chief, immediately get on the horn and see what was going on that day. People were really, really concerned with the amount of black smoke which just started pouring out of that location.
It's not efficient. It pollutes both the water and it pollutes the air. It has a particular impact on all the visitors who come to Redondo Beach and visit.
It only operates 6% of the time, but it operates on an as-needed basis. So OHMConnect will definitely be that bridge to make sure that we don't have to have it operate.
When you are successful in lowering your household's energy usage, we pass those
Location.
reductions onto the
And
grid,
the last
dirty power
survey-
plant stays off, and we pass those earnings on to you.
You should log on to OHMConnect. You should create an account, connect your SCE account, and let's cut our power usage during the ohm hours.
The possibility here to get the plant to shut down by actually making it unneeded, I think is a real game changer.
It's not going to cause blackouts. It's actually going to help prevent them, and it's going to provide you with benefits to keep your bill lower, to reduce our usage at peak times.
Power down for good. It's good for the environment and it's good for your wallet.
Power down for good.
Hey Redondo, power this thing down today. Sign up.
So as you can see from that, we're all on board. We want to power this down. This is one of the tools in the toolbox that we can use when we go to the state and say, we want you to power this down. And they'll say, well, what are you doing to replace that power? And we can simply say, hey, listen, we have this agreement with OHMConnect. We're trying to get residents to use less power so it doesn't need to generate the power. Like I said, it's just one more tool in our toolbox that we could use. And it's going to be hopefully a powerful tool. This is the first marketing agreement that they've done with a city. So the link, here, let me do this. Let me share. I think it's the power down for good. So here's the, oh, whoops, wrong one. We'll get the right link. OHMConnect. You get the right link for you. OHMConnect. And with the OHMConnect, here it is. Copy. With let me here. Give me a second. Sorry, I thought I had the link ready to go. I guess I don't. OHMConnect. Here it is. There you go. This is a specific link. I'll put this in the chat right now. This chat, this link, come on. This link is specific for Redondo campaign. So when you sign up, put your zip code in here, 90277 or 9278. We'll get credit for it. And it's one more step so that we can help take the power plant offline. Like I said, the power plant is not the power that's used here does not go to, what is that plant, Redondo? I hate is not, sorry, I was doing something on Facebook here. The power plant is not used as a real true peaker plant. It's only used as a backup emergency power plant. And what it does is to explain the question here. I know someone had a question in the chat. AES, the power plant Redondo, is only used for extremely high power days. So on the days where we get our power emergencies in August and September primarily, sometimes in July, if temperatures 80, 90, 100 degrees inland and there's not enough power on the power grid, or they're hitting that maximum amount of power, they put on what's called these extra emergency power generation plants. And it gets really complicated, but if to simply explain it is, if there's 100 watts of power being consumed in the LA basin on a given day, they require all these utilities to sign up for 110 or 120% amount of power. So either 10 to 20% more than what they actually are required for that particular day. And they only engage these power plants like the AS site when they get near that 90% or 100% level. So they have that 10 and 20% threshold. They only work in this 10 and 20% threshold that's above and beyond what the normal load is. And what's important about that is, again, this power plant was not designed to be that type of power plant. A peaker plant, a backup power plant, it was designed originally 60 years ago, 70 years ago, to be an on-grid power supply that is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it only gets used 6% of the time that it's available to be used. And it's a small amount. It's extremely expensive to use. We pay, us as ratepayers, every single person who pays for electricity in California pays $45 million a year to keep that place online, whether it produces 1 watt of power, 1,000 watts of power, or 10 watts of power. They are being paid $45 million a year just to be online and available. And then when they start producing power, they're extremely expensive power. So no, your costs won't increase. In fact, if anything, your costs would decrease, because like I said, this place is only used for extra power. And of that time, it's only 6%. There's plenty of power on the power grid under these power emergencies, but they continuously use these threats that we need to have it on online. And when we had these power emergencies a couple of years ago, they were actually selling power to Arizona when we didn't, quote, have enough power in California. They were delivering power to places like Arizona. The energy market is very complicated. OHMConnect is not a power generation per se. All they do is take power off of the grid. So if you sign up with them, you're not getting your power from them. You'll be getting a check from them if they use you to cut amount of power down in a given day. It's a very simple concept of reducing power and then being paid for it. So if they turn off your TV or they turn off your air conditioning, you'll get paid for that. So if there's any questions, I'll answer any more questions. Otherwise, I will move on to the next thing. Let's see, I saw original presentation of the council and loved it. Thank you. Yeah, good. Could we get someone from the company to local as a Rotary? Absolutely, Laurel. Laura, can you, that would be awesome. I'm going to put my email into the chat. And if you can email me, Laurel, then I'll hook you up with the people who are in charge, and they will come down and do a presentation, and they're more than happy. This is the first time they've done work like this. So love to get that enthusiasm going. And like I said, it's only beneficial. There's nothing negative about this. The marketing agreement that we signed here on the council, we're not forcing the city or residents to do any of this. So, all right. Next item, before I forget, for those of you that are looking in my background, why do I have a picture of the Riviera Village in the background? Well, there is a reason for it. And the reason, let me share my screen again. The reason is because this did not exist a few weeks ago. This is something I've been working on for about 2 to 3 years easily. This is right outside of L&L Barbecue, Padone's, Casa Playa. This intersection is a very wide intersection. And anyone that's noticed in this area during the school weeks, the kids from Riviera Hall would come down during lunch or after school and go down to Padone's and go down to L&L and Casa Playa and get lunch and sit there and have lunch, and then they run across the street. Well, there's no real sidewalk there. And they couldn't put a real sidewalk in unless they put in this real concrete bulb out, and then they put out this legitimate painting on the ground. And you'll see here the LED stop sign is now almost in the middle of the intersection. not off far to the left, hidden by the, right up here, you can see it's not hidden by the tree anymore. It was designed, if you guys know, been there in the Riviera Village, when it rains heavily, the water comes crashing down this curb and it just flows like crazy. So they built a little tunnel so that the water can go underneath here and through. So you can see here they've done their curb cuts. They did nice new asphalt there. This project was done with some extra funds. The project contractor who did this does the ADA compliant ramps that you see being done around Redondo. And they had some extra money, had some extra time, and Public Works was like, hey, we've been trying to get to this project. Can you do this for us? Here are the plans and design and specs. They said, fantastic, we can do it within that budget. We can do it within the scope of what you're looking for. And they got this done in like 2 or 3 days. So here's what it looks like now. We got a nice crosswalk going across the street. You can tell now the stop sign is kind of almost in the middle of the street, so you can easily see it. This is a great photo. Before the stop sign, like I said, was all the way over to the right where that palm tree is on the right-hand side. Now it's right there in the middle center. You got a little center median. I'm gonna try to get them maybe get a stop sign in the middle of the street too, as they do on the other side here. So really happy that they were able to get this done. In addition to the Riviera Village, there's also a, let me see if I could pull it up in the April meeting. Actually, I think I went over this, but I'll just generally say that in the April meeting in the city council, we had pedestrian traffic enhancement program happening. So the street over at Trader Joe's will become a one-way direction instead of 2 ways right there at Trader Joe's on Avenida del Norte. Going into the parking lot, it'll be one way towards westbound. And they're going to create what's called a speed table. So it collects all the people who are walking from the Triangle parking lot over to the Trader Joe's and Starbucks and Yogurtland. They'll be walking on this little speed table. It's like, about 4, 5, 6 inches, a raised kind of platform. Amongst some more striping, more LED signs, more bulb outs on the corners. It's all told roughly $350,000. We have about $50,000 that is earmarked, and with that $50,000, they're going to start doing the design work and some other small painting work they'll be able to do within that scope, that budget. We got that money appropriated last year in the budget season. We knew that this was coming, or I knew this was coming, so I wanted to get some money, get this going. So a lot of pedestrian and traffic safety enhancements in the Riviera Village, and it's all coming sooner and later. Hopefully sooner or later, but yeah, Jonathan, Mr. Vetko, I see your hand is up. If you want to say your question, comment.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you. I noticed that crosswalk the other day, a bunch of pedones. I think that's awesome. So thank you for doing that. It also kind of triggered the thought. Do you happen to have any other updates about making that underground parking for that triangle, or anywhere we're at on that?
Great question. Fantastic question. So a couple of years ago, I worked with the Riviera bid to spend $12,000 to do a parking study, and Riviera bid was more than happy to do it. They came back with a parking study. They had basically 3 different designs from $14 to $26 million to build a 2 or 3 level parking garage down right where the triangle is at, and on top we could put in a park, amphitheater, town square, so to speak. We'd have a town triangle, so a town square. Right now, what we're looking to do is the city itself needs a large bond to do a lot of these infrastructures, because a $26 million project, that's a lot of money. So we could set up a parking district, but to pay for that over the long term, we're going to need some other money to come into that and help pay for that. So right now, what we're doing is these traffic enhancements, pedestrian enhancements around the triangle, improving the parking, different types of parking, like the electric chargers, and slowly working towards getting grants, or looking and finding grants, see if we have any grants available for building that parking garage, underground parking garage with usable space on top. And I'll talk more about the bond, infrastructure bond that we've been talking about here the last few months. City Hall needs to be redone. Some of our parks need to be redone. Both of our fire stations need to be redone. Police station, we've been talking about a new police station for 30 plus years, 35 years. That's a $30 million project. So this would all fall into that category, and we would utilize a large city bond and to see what that what we would be able to qualify, how large of a bond and what kind of projects we would do. So that's where we are with that, Jonathan.
So timing on that? No, thank you for that. Timing on that, what do you think? Meaning hopefully while you're still in office?
Probably not. It's one of these things in government, you just get things going and then you take credit for people before you, and then you give credit, you get things going, people after you take credit for things that you've done, right?
That's fair. I get it.
A bond issuance, we'd start looking at it. We've been hammering our city manager on that. Last night we came up during the budget. Hey, where are we with this? I think we're gonna get through our budget this June, and then we're gonna do a serious look at the bond issuance and see what the cost is on that. First, it's getting the projects and see how much they are, getting a bond total. So whether it's 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, whatever that number is, and then seeing what can we afford with our bond rating. Right now we have excellent credit. And that includes the pier area. I see the question here regarding the pier. It includes the pier area. We have a lot of money in the pier. Remind everyone that we got $10 million from the state of California for the Seaside Lagoon. $10 million for Seaside Lagoon. We just started asking for it and we got it. They said there's more there for you. The boat launch ramp that we have to build in the harbor, that will come from grant money as well. That will be in state lands. The harbor is 2 different areas, and part of it's state lands, which we manage for them. They will pay for it all. But a lot of public improvements in the harbor that we can get through grants and through the state. As we know, right now, the state has a $98 billion budget surplus. And there's a lot of grants or bonds that have been passed these last few years for water, infrastructure upgrades, sea level rise upgrades that we can take advantage of. So it's all about getting ourselves into a position that we can apply for these grants and get them. And it's all long-term planning and thinking. A lot of things we haven't been doing for a lot of years, and we're doing that now. And you'll see in this budget that we have coming up. I'll talk about that in a minute. Our budget coming up, we have roughly $12 million in leftover cash from the bond issuance we did to pay off our pension debt. Essentially, that's basically what it is. We used less than we needed to. We did an interest-only payment, and we had a bunch of money that was left over. And the bond issuers looked at us very closely and said, what do you plan on doing with this money? And we said, we are going to do infrastructure projects. And they love that idea. They don't want to see us using that money going towards one-time salary bonuses or buy, just paint or, doing events with that money. They want to see it going to infrastructure, things that have a long-term payoff to the city of Redondo Beach. And a return on investment, really, what they want to see. So they were very happy to see that. So we have that coming towards us. I'll get more deeply into the budget here in a minute. So next thing on the agenda is, let me check Facebook here real quick. Any questions on Facebook? No questions on Facebook. Okay, Facebook is quiet today. No one's on Facebook today. Okay. Next thing we have is we had a meeting last 2 weeks ago regarding pickleball, and the pickleballers. I didn't know about pickleballing until a year ago, where we commissioned a $15,000 study. I believe it was a 4/5 vote to do a budget amendment to get $15,000 and to start a study. And then we put in $50,000 to build pickleball courts. And so we got the study back this last April. And actually what came, the planning Parks and Rec Commission first, then it came to us here at the beginning of May. and it had a multitude of options, roughly $1.5 million worth of pickleball options, from building new courts to striping new courts to striping existing courts to building brand new courts, and taking over tennis courts. And long story short, I did a tour of all of the parks that the pickleball was proposed at. So from Aviation Park, which is our far northerly park, where the aviation gym is at, where the Performing Arts Center is at, the field that needs a lot of work is at. There was a couple options there, roughly over $1 million worth of options actually to build out new pickleball courts, to Anderson Park and Perry Park, Franklin Park, Dominguez Park, and Alta Vista. And between them, Alta Vista, there was an option to build a pickleball court for $40,000 and then convert some existing tennis courts at a cost of roughly $43,000. And as I went through all these different locations, I actually took a photo, and I saw these locations, took a photo of every of these locations. As I was going through, I noticed, wait, they're already playing here at Anderson Park. They're already playing at Perry Park. They're already playing at Franklin Park. And they had tapes out on the ground, and I said, you know, if we were to do these capital improvement projects right now, we have 130 different capital improvement projects right now in the queue. It would show up if we were to build a new pickleball court or do a major striping project. It would sit into the category of a CIP project. It would go as project number 131. Well, it'll take a few years for us to get to that last 131 number. So the solution I had was to stripe the existing pickleball courts where existing pickleball is being played at. So at Anderson Park, there was one location. At Franklin Park, there were 2 locations. And then at Perry Park, there were 3 locations that were currently being played as multi-use at those areas. So I made a motion to get those 6 courts up and running. We can stripe those courts out at these current locations where they're already playing pickleball. And it was roughly $43,000. So it was within the scope of $50,000. Every single one of these projects was like $5,000 or $6,000 each. So they wouldn't fall into the CIP project. So rather than waiting a few years and spending a ton of money, we're going to get some pickleball courts for some people in Redondo. We haven't had pickleball yet. So it's a big win for the pickleball community to spend, you know, like I said, within 1 year of doing this, getting the study going, we have all these things happening already. So, and yet we still don't have a skateboard park. We've been working on a skateboard park for 10 plus years. We've been working on a lot of our parks for multiple years. So it's a big win for people on that. Let's see, cannabis update. So we just had a meeting last council session, I believe it was. And yes, last week, not this week, but last week. The short of the long story is Redondo Beach residents and state of California residents back in 2016 voted to allow recreational cannabis. California was one of the first, if not the first state in the union to allow medical use of cannabis, and other states have done recreational cannabis since then. We've had a moratorium in place for the retailing of cannabis in Redondo since 2018. And since then we've formed a group, a city managers task force with a bunch of people on it, and came up with a bunch of recommendations. Last August, there was a group that came here with a petition to force us to, to put it onto the ballot. First they had to get signatures, and then if they got signatures, which they did, to put it on the ballot on our next municipal election, which would be in March of 2023. They didn't think about that, I don't think. We have since, in October of last year, started to work in earnest to get our cannabis ordinance going. in terms of retail sales. So we had a meeting in October, and I believe another meeting in November, December, and then it went to the Planning Commission once, I believe, and then it came back to us as an ordinance, or maybe it came back to us in January. Yeah, it came back to us in January, and then it went to the Planning Commission, and then it went back to us last week. And so we are getting very close to getting our own cannabis ordinance. It's almost there as terms of location. It will allow 2 retail shops with that also allow delivery. I've been pushing real hard for a retail only option. Someone has said to me at my last community meeting on Saturday, very astutely asked the question, how did you arrive at the number of 2? And I said, well, it was kind of recommended to us. And they said, did they use any data or any information, any facts? And I said, no, it was kind of pulled out of thin air in a way. People thought about it, they had opinions about it, and they came to a number of 2. There wasn't, the question went on further about how large is the market here in Redondo, where could we put it, what number makes sense. That wasn't done on a data analytics style of an answer. So this is the first step. So and part of this first step that we agreed on last week was we're gonna have a third-party company come in and look at our ordinance. This is the first time we've been doing this. There's only about 3 or 4 other cities in LA County that have done an ordinance for retail cannabis. And there's a company called HDL out there that has been doing this for quite a number of years for a multitude of different cities around the state of California. So they can just simply look at our ordinance and say, are you trying to accomplish this, or are you trying to accomplish that? Because this is what your ordinance says, and you're going to do this, but I think you mean to do that. It's roughly going to cost, I think, around $40,000, I want to say, for them to look at this or our ordinance, provide us recommendations, and then start engaging with us on the second step of this process. So there's actually 3 steps. The first step is allowing it in certain areas of the city and choosing how many retailers you're going to have, what type of retailers you're going to have. The next step is going to be, which is intricately involved with the first step, which is locations, but they are separate. The second step is to choose a cannabis retailer, so a provider. So how are we going to choose it? Some cities have done a lottery, just a literal lottery, and then some cities have gone through a merit-based system. And it's the 2 work hand in hand, because there's a lot of things we put in our ordinance, how far away they can be from each other, these particular locations. We put in, for instance, 1 per district, nothing closer than 1,000 feet. Planning Commission actually had some good questions on that. Well, what happens if you're on Torrance Boulevard and you're across the street from each other, but you're 1,000 feet away? It's one in, as you know, Torrance Boulevard, if you don't know, it bisects District 1 and District 2. So you can have 2 licensed cannabis operators on Torrance Boulevard 1,000 feet away from each other. That would be allowed. So they have some good questions. Planning Commission, this is why we're going to have HDL, the company, come in and look at this ordinance that we're doing, and then help us do the selection process as well. It takes the politics out of it. It takes our staff out of it. Our staff doesn't really have the time. Right now, we're dealing with state issues. We're dealing with a multitude of other planning issues. So this is going to help them work with the third party to move this along faster, and to see if we have any pitfalls, kind of a little bit of an insurance policy. So they'll be helping us with that. And of course, then we have the third part of the action. After we select it, then we actually have to implement. So after we give the license out, and we actually have to get it going. So we're just kind of 20%, 25% of the way there. Not quite, not quite more now, I don't think. But it's some big giant steps moving forward. And I haven't really gotten any pushback from anyone. It's funny, I was at a seminar the other day, and I made the kind of realization that a lot of elected officials around the state in cities are cautious and extremely conservative on opening up cannabis retail shops. Anything from just saying absolutely not, like Manhattan Beach, we don't want it here, but yet they're all allowing retail delivery happening in their city. And then, but the residents themselves are kind of like, well, you know, you're doing what you're doing, and we allowed it. We want to have happen. And yeah, are there concerns? Absolutely, we're addressing those concerns and making sure that the retail cannabis will not be accessible to kids, to high schoolers, to the testing will be there. We're making sure that it's a legit operation. A lot of these questions regarding cash keep coming up, and California is setting up a bank, so HDL can help us as a third party do an audit of these companies and making sure that they're actually giving us a tax structure. So we will be putting a tax on the ballot in March of 2023. HDL will be helping us put that onto the ballot measure. I've talked about the costs of HDL and the costs of the city. By doing this process, we can offload those costs 100%, completely, utterly, totally, and fully off onto the cannabis retailers. So the two retailers that we choose, we can put this a part of their business application, business license. They have to pay us X dollars, which then means we can recoup our fees for using this third party. So like I said, we're starting the process. A year ago, we weren't doing anything. Now we're moving forward. We're getting there slowly. We're not rushing this by any means. We've had at least 2 or 3 council meetings on this, planning commission meeting. Everything's been noticed. So if you have any opinions on this, let us know. There was a question to be posed a while ago if an 18, 19, or 20-year-old will be able to, who has a quote medical exemption or medical reason to have cannabis, will they be able to access this product? The answer is no. You have to be 21 or older. And those types of retail licenses for medical licenses aren't really given out anymore. So that's from what I understand. So yeah, there's a lot there. Let me check on Facebook. No other comments there. Let me check on the chat. Mr. Svetko, you've got your hand up. You got comment, question?
Yeah, no, I think you did a great job in explaining all that. I just wanted to kind of speak to a couple of things on I think you're right to bring up some points around the number or the amount of licenses we have in there. But I think it's good to also point out the whole goal of this, especially when we started, is that it was meant to be a program to start. And the reason we're doing it as an ordinance is so the council can increase that number over time if they see need for it. So you start with 2, you go from there. I'll point to the county of Los Angeles where they have 1 million people in population. They're only starting off with 25, which makes it a 1 per 40,000 people in residence, which is even less than what Redondo's doing. So I think, it's just from that context, it's about starting and getting this right. And then we can keep expanding once we see, hey, the sky didn't fall. If we need more licenses, let's bring more licenses in there. I want to kind of mention that. The other part, I just want to ask your opinion on, or maybe you could look into it for me. If we ultimately go into a tax thing in March, we put our own tax ballot on there. How does that impact? I think I know the answer, but I ask you to kind of look at it. How does that impact with the fact that we're going forward with the development agreement? The point of a development agreement is to get that fee in there and to set all these things in place. It's not a both solution, it's an either or. So if we're going through and we push this in here, and then months later we completely change this thing to go a different route, maybe you can look into that and kind of help us get a little better answer on that one, if that's okay. And then last thing, I just want to say, I think you're right. So many people are shy from the government position thing. There's just not enough communication and understanding on stuff. I don't know if you just saw just yesterday, I think it was in the Orange County Voice, the mayor of Anaheim has now gotten into an investigation with the FBI and a sting because there's accusations of him accepting funds from cannabis industry to actually, put forward certain things for them. And it's like those kind of things that the industry does forward that makes it so bad scares so many other cities forward. So I just, to your point, everyone else, I'm so glad Redondo's kind of trying to do the best they can to make sure we set a good example and not scare off our neighbors as to, this being a bad process. So thank you for that. I just wanted to kind of make those things.
Thank you. Yeah, I can actually answer that partially for you regarding the developer's fee and or the tax. I've talked to our city manager, Mr. Wazansky, about that. He actually has the same concerns about, hey, what happens? We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot. If we have a developers agreement, let me back up for a second. We're going to sign what's called developers agreement with these operators, and that allows us a tremendous amount of leeway in terms of what we can charge them for having an agreement in the city, costs, how we choose them, how long it lasts, if we can just simply take this away. It's not a conditional use permit. For instance, a conditional pre-use permit, if we assign a conditional use permit to a particular building, that lives with that building, regardless of the operator or person who comes in, that lives with that particular building. This lives with that particular operator only, a developer's agreement. So by giving us that leeway of doing a developer's agreement in the beginning, essentially like a franchise in a way. There are some fine differences between those, and there's a difference between that and the straight out business license. But to the tax question, it's one of the reasons why we brought in HDL is how do we make sure that we have a developer's agreement in place. We're charging them 2 or 3, 4, 5%, whatever it may be. And then if we have, which we are going to have the tax on cannabis on the March of 2023 election, if it gets approved by the voters, that developers agreement tax 5%, whatever it may be, gets sunsetted immediately. Or if it does not get approved by the voters, it continues to move forward. And that's something that's a very technical legal question, how it's done, how it's worded, because one could only imagine if it's done wrong, so two different people have two different opinions on how it is, and it ends up in a lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, I think, and that's, I mean, where I can be of help, let me know. But it's like, I think the concern I have is that we would go, in theory, we would pass this fairly, sometime this year and start that process. So then you sign that development agreement, and it's not even been a year later, you're all of a sudden change that whole development agreements there. So I hear you on that. I think I have some thoughts, but if I can be of help on that, please let me know. I think that's just the one thing where, and I think if I understand right, part of that is that if this initiative, the competing initiative, still stays on the ballot and they don't pull it for whatever reason until then it might make sense for us to have something else to compete against them by putting a tax. But if they pull it, I don't even know the reason of why we would do a tax right now if we have a development agreement in place. Things to consider. It's a lot of variables.
I hear what you're saying. I think to me a tax is it's a little bit more honest to the public. It's to me, fees and licensing agreements and all these other things, to me, it's all just a giant tax, right? Whether you want to call it a fee or licensing or a tax or an agreement, whatever it may be, it's essentially just a tax. So to me personally, I think it's just a little bit more honest. And that way, if you open up to other operators, just retail, delivery only, hey, they're doing this. I think I want to say there's more enforceability with a general tax as well.
Well, to your point, I think you're right. It's like if we allow then the problem we had, and that's why we did it. We did the development agreement and we said no delivery to start with, was just because we didn't have a tax. If we have a tax in there, then that lets the city benefit on all sides, which is awesome.
Right.
So no, thank you for that. I appreciate that insight. And just, if you get a chance, let me know. Otherwise, I think you guys got it covered.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, anyone have any questions on that? Raise your hand, make other comments. We're definitely doing this as transparent as possible. I'll tell you right now, we're ahead of the curve from Manhattan, Hermosa, or El Segundo, any other beach cities, any other beach cities in the South Bay, Torrance. PV's not allowing it. None of these cities are allowing it. So I think there's a real opportunity for us to have this moving forward and do it in a responsible manner. I mean, I'm constantly shocked. I mean, if you're down at BeachLife, I wasn't at BeachLife this weekend, but from what I heard was don't breathe in too deep from some of the bands.
Was it that bad, really?
That's what some people said. Yeah. It is what it is, and the smartphone app. And I said this during a council meeting. Anyone who wants to buy cannabis online with their smartphone can do it right now, or Redondo Beach, and have it delivered to the city council chambers. And you can say what you want to say, but at the end of the day, you can do that and have it delivered. Now, our city attorney will sit there and say it's illegal, but I think you're parsing a lot of different words here. At the end of the day, anyone can order this cannabis product to your home, to the council chambers, to wherever you may be sitting there in a park. And we still have these no smoking rules and laws in place. And that's, I think, important to know. No smoking doesn't just mean tobacco. It also means cannabis as well.
And I think to your point, again, that's why it's better to regulate than to kind of keep current status quo, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've been a big proponent of just, hey, let's just do whatever, we're tax something and then regulate it. We have the ability to see what's going on and do something about it. So yeah, any other questions for anyone? Comments? Speak up.
Can I speak up? Somehow I can't put my hand up. This is Joan.
Joan, just go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, first of all, you just mentioned about the not smoking. My understanding, especially because of all the work I did on Keep the Esplanade Beautiful, is that we do not have a non-smoking policy in Redondo. That never got passed. And is that correct?
That is not correct. We do have a no smoking policy. First of all, there's no smoking in all city parks, and that's been on the books for years. The Esplanade is included, all parks are included, and then we have a no smoking in public places. We changed that ordinance a couple of years ago to include anywhere outside and not within 10 or 15 feet of windows, I believe. It does not include multifamily units or residential areas because it's very hard. It's impossible to really enforce in those locations. But since we have, if you're outside on the public right of way, there's no smoking.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because the last time I checked into that was because on the Esplanade, Mike Webb had said that it actually had never gotten passed, but that was a few years ago. So
that's been updated since, and we did that, I believe, the same time we banned flavored tobacco and flavored tobacco products and vaping products and the flavored vaping products as well.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're welcome. And I made sure I learned from our leaf blowers, which I didn't vote for when we were banning our leaf blowers. I learned that the school board said, thank you very much for the banning of leaf blowers, but we don't care. You did not specifically mention the school property. So I learned from that, and I made sure that we included city school district property on the vaping, flavored tobacco, smoking, and all that rigmarole. So yeah, it does include the school. They don't get a choice on that. So if no one else has anything else, I'm going to skip ahead actually and talk about something a little bit more fun. We've talked about it. BeachLife Festival update. We had BeachLife Festival this last weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I did not go. I would have loved to have gone, but I have to actually do my job as a regular person, pay for life. And I know Councilmember Lowenstein went, Councilmember Obaji went, Mayor Brand went, and I believe Laura, Councilmember MD, went on Saturday. It sold out on Saturday. Saturday was completely sold out. And from what I understand, for everyone that was there, it was a massive hit. Smashing Pumpkins played on Saturday. Michael Franti played. Oh, man, there were so many bands. I don't have a lineup right here in front of me, but Weezer played on Friday night. Steve Miller Band played Sunday night. Sheryl Crow played. I got home from work and they had a live stream set up free. So you go to the BeachLife website, you click on live stream, and boom, it'll take you to another website, and you can watch who's ever on stage right then and there for free, watching it for free. So that's what I did. It was awesome. I mean, I was really stoked to see it. It has really changed our harbor and changed the point of view, what we can do with our harbor. And I had a lot of great comments on it. We've worked together really well with the promoter, Alan Sanford, who also was a part owner of Rockefeller, and amongst many other businesses in Hermosa and the South Bay. He did a fantastic job down at BeachLife with the curation of different bands. Overall, these things, people don't understand how much work it goes into public safety from the city and public works from city. You go up down there, you see all the palm trees are nicely cut. They put a new crosswalk nicely painted. They painted the curb. I mean, they made the Seaside Lagoon and the harbor look fantastic. And they did a great job, public works and city staff. And they organized everything. It's a huge liability for us to put something like this on. Something could go wrong really badly, but it hasn't. knock on wood, all the things that's happening in this crazy world nowadays. So it's really good to have an event where we bring so many people together for just a music festival and have a good time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So at least from what I was told, I wasn't there, but I can tell you, as someone who has to deal with the contract on that and dealing with the city and getting resources, we don't really make much money directly from that event in the city. We make our money more so right now on the back end through sales tax, through TOT tax. All the hotels in Redondo were booked full. They were charging, I don't know, double of what they normally charge. So we had generated a phenomenal amount of sales tax and TOT tax, amongst some other taxes for us. The agreement is ever changing that we have with the BeachLife Festival. You'll see it on the agenda a few weeks ago. They actually gave $1,000 to the King Harbor Association, which is some of the businesses down in the harbor. They have an association that works together very similar to the BID. And one of the reasons that I asked them, I was like, kind of making a point to do that is because, it's an impact for those businesses down there in the harbor, and they lose money beforehand during setup, and they lose a little bit of money afterwards. But during the festival, they make great money. But it is an impact to them, and it'd be good, for them to have a little bit extra money there so they can promote the King Harbor for some of their events. Speaking of events in the King Harbor, question?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I live on the Esplanade on Avenue E, and we could hear the noise here, especially the music, let me not say noise. We could hear it, and especially if it was really a lot of bass. So, you can talk to people at different spots that in between where I live and where the festival were, other people didn't hear it, but here, in this area, we heard it. So how can that be taken care of? So next year we don't have to be listening to a concert we may not want to be listening to.
Might be a band you don't want to hear. We're always working with the promoter, Alan Sanford. He has multiple decibel meters, and within this area and outside the area, the speakers he uses are very directional. And that might be part of the problem. When you use extremely directional speakers, the sound carries with the wind in a certain direction. If the wind is going a certain direction. It's funny you say that, Joan. Like I heard a couple of things from where I live very clearly, and then all of a sudden I would hear nothing. I would hear the seals barking. We literally heard the seals barking over the music. I hear the crowd roaring sometimes, and I heard the music as well. So, we're constantly working with him, and he's moving the speakers around. The first year we had it, I didn't get a single noise complaint or noise inquiry. And the second year, last September, when we had it, I got 2 noise inquiries, actually 3 in total, one of which though was regarding the bullpen. And they had an outside band. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if 2 of those 3 actually came from the bullpen. I know for sure one came from the bullpen. But yeah, we're always working with him and making sure he's very sensitive to that. He's using some of the newest technology of speakers and sound decibel meters to make sure it doesn't carry as far as it does. In fact, I heard from some people that were there, it wasn't actually loud enough, and you were in the back portions of the crowd. So that's actually a good thing in my opinion, because that means it doesn't leak out. So we're working with him, and I know any complaint that came in to him, he would pick up the phone and personally call a lot of these people afterwards and see what's going on. There were some people in different parts of District 1, District 2, even District 3 that heard the music coming through. There was a lot of, and I will say this absolutely, I heard sirens on Friday just left, right, and center. And then again on Sunday when I got home from work, I was like, what is up with all these sirens? And the sirens, I saw some comments and people said, oh, they are coming from the BeachLife Festival. And no, they weren't coming from BeachLife Festival. The people that were stationed at BeachLife Festival stayed at BeachLife Festival. These were sirens that were above and beyond what was normally happening. So I don't know. I actually asked the police and fire chief on that very question, where the calls for service higher over this last weekend. So it'd be good to know if that's the case.
Okay, well, thank you. But and if you can just put in not a complaint as much as a reality is that it was hitting this section of the Esplanade. Now, a number of my neighbors, were complaining about it, mainly when the base was really high. Because then,
Right.
I mean, it actually, when the base is high, I mean, you can actually feel that kind of, I mean, you can physically feel it. It's very interesting.
Right.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see here. We will go to kind of a little bit drier subject. The budget has been released. Here's the budget. You can see that. No, you can't really see that. I have my little stuff going on. It's a paper budget right here. You can see that proposed budget 2022, 2023. You can download it on the website. It includes the CIP right here. The CIP budget is a separate project. It's a 5-year outlook. So it includes the projects we currently have working and the new projects on there that we're funding or unfunded. I'll give you the very short of the long budget. We had 100 and after all said is done this last year, we're having $103 million, $101 million budget. This year we expect to have $103 million, $104 million budget. It's the largest budget we've ever had in Redondo Beach by far, actually. It does include some one-time funds from the feds. But what's basically happening right now, our sales tax is doing really, really well. Riviera Village is firing on all cylinders. Some of the other businesses that are now back open again are producing sales tax. Obviously, real estate transfer tax, when people sell their homes, and real estate taxes in general have gone up because the price of housing has gone up dramatically. So that's done really well. There's two bright spots. Our TOT tax, our hotel tax, is doing really well, but we're not getting the revenue from the TOT tax right now like we used to. And that is because of our normal hotels, we're getting that revenue, the increase in revenue of the TOT tax and the hotel revenues that are happening. But our 3 largest hotels, which actually has been really driving our TOT tax and our taxes for the hotel tax, TOT is transit occupancy tax, is bed tax. So what's been driving the bed tax up there, those 3 hotels along Marine Avenue, right along the 405, that's the largest generator of our bed tax, TOT tax in Redondo. Why are we not getting those taxes? Because when they were built, they had a separate fund that was created. And we put in $8 million of taxes, kind of like a backup fund, operating / backup fund. And any tax we would get first would need to fill up that amount to roughly $8 million. And once that is fully filled at 100% level, then we start getting all the bed tax out of those 3 hotels. That was created back when those hotels were built as an agreement because they needed some operating money and we had some requirements that they needed to do. And during COVID, they were able to withdraw a lot of those funds to keep those hotels open. And that's why this fund was created. So they were actually able to stay open during COVID and not go bankrupt or not have financial issues because they were able to draw from those funds. So that's a great thing for us. But the bad thing is when we start replenishing that fund, all that money from there has to go back into that fund. So it's a little complicated exactly how it works. That's the general overview. We just got it yesterday. Anyone can go to the main website and download it. There is a significant amount of changes that have happened this year in this year's budget. One of the things that I've been really pushing for, and now it's very successfully pushing for in our budget, is more of a line item budget. In fact, I think if I have it open here, I'll show you proposed budget. Yeah, I have it here actually. Let me share the item, and yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the proposed budget right here, 2023. So it always starts off with all the elected officials. table of contents, obviously, and it goes right into the city manager's message. It's supposed to be a short overview. This is 10 pages of city manager message, and it goes into the decision packages that we have here. Now you'll notice, right? Let's see here. Actually, first thing I'm going to say is on some of these decision packages you'll see here, there's one here for $5,000. Expand the fire department's AED CPR instruction program. It's a $5,000 decision package. Normally speaking, in years past, that would have been rolled up in a giant decision package of like $60,000 or $70,000. Here, they're just breaking it out this year now, saying this is what we're going to do, and this is why we're going to do it. It's $5,000. That's never been done before. Of all these decision packages, you'll see here on the right-hand side, this is a table of decision packages, one-time cost versus general ongoing fund cost, what the total is, and other total funds. And on the very end, he shows down here in the bottom what the amounts are, whether it's one-time or ongoing fund charges. Why is this important? Because I used to do this myself personally, internally, just put this table together and start putting all the stuff in. Took a lot of time. Now it's in here for me already. And it's, you guys can look at this and say, oh, this is a decision package. How much is this costing? Can we knock this down? Can we add more to this? And then you'll see it right away showing up in the totals. This has never been done before, Redondo. Let me show you something else that has never been done. You'll see here in, let's see here. Oh, here's a line item. So actually, I'm gonna go to one of the departments. Some departments is better. They, before we used to say just for city managers. Let me go here. City council. So mission statement, summary, expense detail. Why is that not showing up here? Before you would have gotten, say here, let me go in here, view again. You would have gotten mayor and council has an annual budget of, I'm just going to make up a number, $10 million. And of those $10 million, $8 million goes to personnel, $1 million goes to internal service funds, and $1 million goes towards travel and expenses. Well, it doesn't really tell you anything what's going on. Now we actually have this broken down. So now you can actually see personnel, full-time salaries, part-time salaries. So full-time salaries, all the elected officials for mayor and council, all 6 of us cost city $140,000. That's because we only get paid $927 a month. Overtime, I don't know what overtime is and why that's in there, because none of us make overtime. Oh, actually, I do know. That is that's because we have one employee in our mayor and council. So we have one executive assistant who takes care of travel expenses and does things for the city manager's office as well. So now you can see here, for instance, office supplies, $55, special department supplies, postage, membership dues, $5,500. You never were able to see something like this before. This level of detail was never before in our budget. And it's something that I'm actually, to be quite honest with you, I'm really proud of, because I've been pushing this for a number of years. Manhattan has it, Formosa has it, Torrance has it to a large degree. They have 2 different budgets. They have a detailed budget. They have an overall general budget that people can look at. You don't have to do a public records request anymore. And even before, before they wouldn't even give you this through public records request. Now you can actually see it. So it's really going in the right direction. It's really, you're really able to now see how the city spends its money. And in the next few weeks, you'll be able to see us really have hearings and talk about the budget in detail. So if there's any questions, let me know. And I don't see any questions anywhere. Any hands up? Metro Green Line. There was for those of you that don't know, the Metro Green Line runs off, they want to build a Green Line extension to come down the right of way, or to have the come down Hawthorne Boulevard. The right of way is right behind or right between the Target and the residential areas. It's where a freight line comes through right now. Just to, make this super short for you. There's one freight line that runs there once a day, maybe twice a day, and they want to move that freight line 1 to 12 feet closer to the property lines of residences, so they'll be as close as 5 feet to the residence. Imagine you have a backyard, and in your backyard at the property line 5 feet away is a freight train coming through there. It's not a joke. That's literally what they're planning to move it to. And then 25, 30 feet from there, they're going to have 2 rail lines every 6 to 8 minutes, have a light rail line go through there. Residents are clearly not happy. We've been dealing with Holly Mitchell's office. I think it's really important for all of us, even down here in South Redondo, to take notice and care and understand what's going on and support those North Redondo. A multitude of reasons. Number one is we're one Redondo. And number two is, we want public ridership to happen and be successful. And going down the Hawthorne Boulevard will create more riders versus going down the right of way, which you'll have less riders. And so it's all about ridership. And if we have less riders, which means they make less revenue, which means it costs all of us taxpayers a ton of more money. So we've been very adamant and been supporting them up there on that. Let's see here. So I have a kind of a cool thing here. And you guys know, excuse me, I need to sneeze. Excuse me. Let me share my screen for a cool little photo. This here is Janice Hahn, our former supervisor with Deirdre Brand, that is the wife of Mayor Bill Brand. And Janice Hahn is giving us as one of her last duties here, formerly in her district, supervisorial district. She's giving the South Bay Parkland Conservancy an award for the garden that is at the end of the Esplanade, right at Knob Hill. They converted, was just a dry patch of land. And I'll show it to you here in a second, but right now I'll zoom in. You'll notice there are 2 signatures on this photo. What is so important about that is these accommodations or certificates are from the supervisor's office, never have 2 signatures. They always have 1 signature. But Janice Hahn loves our district, loves the work that they've all been doing. And we had a ribbon cutting ceremony there. So she showed up. That's Councilmember Obaji, Councilmember Lowenstein, members of the South Bay Parkland that were there. Oops, wrong way. Let me go. Let's see. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. There you go. That's all of us. That's the South Bay Parkland Board, as well as Wayne Craig was there taking some photos. Councilmember Obaji, Councilmember Lowenstein, myself. And these people have been, here's the whole group of people, had a nice setup from the city with speakers, great crowd. Supervisor Mitchell's office was there as well. She sent Jesselyn, and it was really cool. Beaches to Harbors was there to see what was going on. Our city managers back here in the back. Mike Klein was there. City staff really supported this. And this is the garden that they put out. While you might walk by and think, what's the big deal about this garden? It really is a habitat for a lot of the birds and the bees and the grasshoppers. And this was literally just a dead piece of soil a couple of years ago. And they revived this with natural habitat, with flowers and natural sagebrush, California natives. And they're doing the entire bluff along the entire Esplanade from end to end. They got some grant from the United States Department of Fish and Wildlife Service. And so they're getting volunteers, they're working on this, and they're going to return the bluffs. They're going to get rid of that ice plant, which is a non-native invasive species, and plant it with native species and for bluff restoration. So really cool what they're doing. They're all, South Bay Parkland is also doing the community gardens at Alta Vista. They're working on that right now. Yeah, so I would be remiss without mentioning the King Harbor amenities plan. Mark Hansen came on earlier. King Harbor amenities, there is a plan. I will put this into the chat. You guys all click on this link here that's I'm putting in. We are seeking public input on the King Harbor amenities. So if you think you have an idea for what we should do with the harbor, I would love for you to join the meeting. Here, I'll do a screen share, show you. They have a virtual meeting on May 31st. And if you click this link, it'll bring you to a Zoom sign up. And you will register for the third phase. They will show a new and updated plan, and you'll be able to make comments. They have a video here on the website. They're basically choosing where the boat launch ramp will go in the harbor, where the sports fishing pier will go in the harbor, what the Seaside Lagoon is going to look like, and amenities they're going to have included. What Moonstone Park, we have $2 million or $2.5 million sitting at the in a fund for the Moonstone Park to redo the Moonstone Park. And last night at our city council meeting, we started the RFP process to start getting a firm that does aquatic design and other designs on board to design the future of the Seaside Lagoon. So taking what they come up with here at this overall scope, we have a firm now coming in and going to design the Seaside Lagoon individually and say, we're going to take our plans that we have here and we're going to expand the water feature. We're going to create a more natural environment for swimming, for lap swimming, or create outdoor space for concerts. So imagine if we had year-round ability to do a year-round concerts and movies down Seaside Lagoon. And so it's going to be purely focused on design of Seaside Lagoon. And when they're done with that phase of the design of Seaside Lagoon, we'll actually put it out to bid to rebuild the Seaside Lagoon. So we're moving forward. It's not going to cost the city any money. We've got a $10 million grant, like I said, and if we need more money, we'll get it. We'll offload the cost of this design firm to the $10 million of the state. This is all state lands, and I've always said this before, we shouldn't be spending any of our own money. This all should be coming out of the state because it is state lands. So they should be paying for it. Yeah. So that brings me to the end, I believe. Community meeting. Let me see if I have anything else. OHMConnect, parks, cannabis, BeachLife. Okay, I think that's it. So this Saturday we have a compost pickup. If you want to go pick up the compost at the Wilderness Park from 8 to noon. Arrive early. Don't get there at 11:30, and I might have run out by that point in time. Show up there, bring your own bags. They'll shovel you some compost into your bags. Use sturdy bags. Don't show up with just a plastic bag. Show up with like a bin. So they'll put it in there. Mr. Savetko, your hand is up. Anyone else have a question or comment or anything to add? Just please raise your hand and throw it in the chat and we'll go from there. Jonathan, do you have a question? By any chance? You are muted right now, Jonathan. So if you're talking, I can't hear you. Your hand is up. Okay.
Sorry, it doesn't work for anything. Just real quick, if there's time, do you have any updates? I saw curiously the SB 910 lawsuits, I guess, got thrown out. So is there any updates as to what next steps are? Or is this just effort dead now?
Great question. Fantastic question. So, so if there's any more lawyers left on the line, so we filed two lawsuits actually, one on SB 10, one SB 9. Two different lawsuits, a couple different reasons. SB 9 is a lawsuit we joined with City of Torrance, City of Whittier, and City of Carson to basically stop the overriding of our state legislation, our state override of our local zoning. That's working itself through the courts. We just filed that actually. So a few weeks ago, I want to say maybe a month or so ago. So no real update on that. But SB 10, great question. I'm glad you brought it up because we actually had this on the agenda for closed session agenda. We filed a lawsuit against the state on SB 10, and for those that are lawyers, we filed something called a writ, a mandamus writ, or a writ. So basically, it means for layman's, we're asking an injunction, or we're asking the court to stop something from happening. And it's a trial on what's called the papers, statement of, man, you're making me think, a summary judgment, which is basically we turn in our lawsuit, they have a reply, the state has a reply, and the judge basically comes through and says, I agree with this party or that party. We got our writ back, and we had a judgment of, we believe, the state or the judge, Judge Chalfant, Department 85 and LA County Superior Court in downtown LA. We've had a lot of this court, we had a lot of lawsuits go through him. We had our EIR go through him, actually, Redondo. So he knows Redondo Beach well, knows our lawyers well. We joined up with the AIDS Healthcare Foundation on this lawsuit. It was filed back in the fall, and we came in after they filed to join up as another plaintiff on this lawsuit. Unfortunately, we lost. It was a mandamus relief, something mandamus. I had to look the word up. Basically, he denied us, and he's going with what the state said. So we actually voted, and we discussed it in closed session last night, and we actually voted to appeal it to a higher to appeals court, which now goes to a 3-judge panel in the appeals court. And then I'm sure whatever answer we get from there, one party or the other will appeal it to the state Supreme Court. I couldn't tell you if we'll be successful or not. It's a really complicated case. We have Measure DD in Redondo. Measure DD in Redondo basically says any zoning change in Redondo Beach that affects 20,000 square feet or more, or certain traffic impacts, shall go to a vote of the residents of Redondo Beach. We've had a few of those votes. For instance, in District 1 here, the Kensington project on the corner of Nob Hill and PCH, that had to go to a vote of the people for a zoning change. And so this is a flat out zoning change in Redondo. And basically what the judge said was, hey, if you guys don't enact this, it doesn't really matter for you. And oh, by the way, you could override the residents on this voter initiative if you have 2/3 of the council members, or make it a unanimous vote. Well, that's just kind of ridiculous. The power of the initiative for the voters is one of the highest powers there are, and it has been protected through the courts, by the courts, for many years, because that has been, hey, this is what the voters want. This is how the Coastal Act was created. This is how a lot of law that we use to nowadays has been created. So that's the really long answer of the really complicated question. SB 10, we lost that lawsuit, but we're going to file appeals. Unanimous decision reported yesterday, and it's going to be on its way forward to hopefully get our way on that. So,
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Excuse me. All right, if there's no other questions, thank you guys for your time. Sorry. And I will see you next month, which is June 11th. The second Saturday is in June 11th at Alta Vista, 9:30 in the morning. And thereafter, I'll have my online meeting sometime. So yeah, happy May, and have a great night. And I will talk to you guys in a few weeks. Bye.